Question number 7 on the 2016 Algebra 1 STAAR test asks us, or gives us the graph of 0.5x minus 2y equals 3. And then it asks us which one of the following order pairs would be a solution if we had the inequality 0.5x minus 2y is greater than or equal to 3. There's a couple different ways that we could go about solving this problem. One way is that we can change this equation from standard form to slope-intercept form and figure out which side of the graph should be shaded in. So we'll do that one first. So I would change the sign of the x value and move it over to the other side of the equation. So we'd have negative 2y greater than or equal to 3 minus 0.5x. Now I know your teacher might show you to put the slope and the x in front of the y-intercept number, put the mx in front of the b, but for the purposes of this problem, that doesn't really matter. We're just trying to figure out what the symbol should be so we know how to shade the graph. And then we would divide everything by negative 2. And again, we don't even have to go through the process of dividing everything by negative 2 because they've already given us the line. We already know what the line should look like. We're just trying to figure out which side of the line should be shaded. Since I'm dividing by a negative, it's important that I change this symbol and I flip it around to a less than or equal to symbol. So y would be less than or equal to negative 3 over 2 plus half divided by, that'd be 1 over 4x. So I have a less than or equal to symbol. That means that we would be shading below the line, going down the y-axis. So all of our solutions are going to be in this area here that's highlighted underneath the line. So anything on the line or underneath it would be a solution to that inequality. So once I figured that where the answers are, I could plot these points and see which one is in the shaded area or on the line. The point negative 2, 0, 5, the point negative 2, positive 0.5, negative 2 for x, 0.5 is right here. That is not in the shaded area, so that's not a solution. The point 2, 1, positive 2, go up 1, not in the shaded area, not a solution. Point 2, negative 1, 2 and negative 1 is on the line. And since we have a equal to symbol in our inequality, then this is a solution. So that's the right answer, but I'm just going to check D just to make sure. And then we have negative 2, negative 0.5, which happens to be the exact same answer as A, so that one's not going to be right either. So the answer to this problem would be 2, negative 1. Another way we could have solved it without changing it into slope-intercept form would be to just plug in the numbers into the equation and see which one gave us the correct answer or one that was true. So for example, I would use my calculator. I'm going to plug in, these are my x values, these are my y values. I would plug in x, I would plug in negative 2 for x, 0.5 for y, and see if this made a true statement. So on this first one, A, I would have 0.5 times negative 2 minus 2 times 0.5 and see if that is greater than or equal to 3. So we have our calculator, 0.5 times negative 2 minus 2 times 0.5. Hit enter, it says that it's negative 2. Negative 2 is definitely not greater than negative 3, so that's not the correct answer. Then we can do it again for B. I have 0.5 times x minus 2 times y, and I need this to be greater than or equal to 3. So 0.5 times 2 minus 2 times 1. Enter, and I get negative 1. Again, not bigger than or equal to positive 3. So that's not the right answer either. And then I can check C. 0.5 times 2 minus 2 times negative 1. I want to see if that's greater than or equal to 3. It should be because we found that point on the graph. So 0.5 times 2 minus 2 times negative 1. Hit enter, and I get 3 exactly. So 3 is greater than or equal to 3. Either way, we end up with the same answer, C, for this problem. Question number 8 on the 2016 Algebra 1 STAAR test. What value of x makes this equation negative 5x minus the quantity of negative 7 minus 4x equal to negative 2 times the quantity of 3x minus 4 true? So we got to see which one of these x values is going to give us the correct answer for this. Now we can go through the steps of solving. So the first thing we would do is to distribute. I need to get rid of the parentheses by multiplying the number outside. So there's an imaginary 1 outside this one. So I'm going to multiply both of these by negative 1. And I'm going to multiply both of these by negative 2. So we'd have 5x plus 7. Negative 1 times negative 7 is 7. Negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4x. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. There's an x. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Then we draw our border like our teacher taught us. Then we combine like terms. On the left side, I can put my two x's together. So I'd have 9x plus 7. I can't combine anything on the right side because I have an x and a number. Can't put those things, you can't add or subtract them together. You can only multiply or divide them. So those will stay the same. Now when I add or subtract, I like to get all my x's on the left side. So I have an x on the left already. I don't want an x on the right, so I'm gonna do the opposite to get rid of this. And add 6x over here. So now I have 15x plus 7 equals 8. And then, oh, I'm sorry, no wonder. That's a negative 5x. So this doesn't give me 9x up here, this gives me negative 1x. So when I do this, I have 5x. So negative 5 plus 4x gives me 1x. 1x plus 6x gives me positive 5x. And then next, I only have x's on the left, which is good. I don't want any numbers on the right. I don't want any numbers on the left, so I'm gonna move this over to the right side. So I'm gonna subtract 7 from both sides. 5x equals 1. And then finally, I am going to divide both sides by the number in front of x to get my answer. So x equals 1/5, which is answer choice J. That's a lot of math involved here and solving it step by step. Even you saw, made a little mistake. I forgot to bring that negative down. So another thing that we could do is put this in our calculator. We can put this, break up each part of the equation. This first part would go in y1 in our graphing calculator, and this second part would go in y2, and we want to see where those two lines would cross to see what our answer would be. So I go to y equals, clear that. I'm going to type in the first part of the equation in y1, so negative 5x minus parentheses negative 7 minus 4x close parentheses, and you can see I typed it in exactly the way it's written. You don't need to change anything or do any distributing or any extra steps. And then in y2, I'm going to type in the second part, so negative 2 parentheses 3x minus 4, close my parenthesis. I can hit graph. I'm trying to see where the two lines will cross each other. So they cross each other here, right by the y-axis. So whatever that x number is would be my solution. Now, if your x numbers were, if the answer was a whole number, you could tell by looking at the table. So we hit second and graph again, it gives us our table. And we're looking for where the two y numbers would be the exact same, that would be our x number. All right, and if our answer was a whole number, we'd be able to find it easily like this. But in this problem, it's not. But even though it's not, if you still do this and look at the table first, you would be able to eliminate the whole number answers if you can't find any. So you can see the y's on this side are pretty much just going up by 1 or going down by 1, and these numbers are kind of bigger, so right here at 0 is where they get the closest, 7 and 8. All right. So I know that it's not going to be 3, and I know it's not going to be 5 if I use the calculator, so I'm only down to 2 choices. So from there, we could take each one of these x numbers and plug them in. I could have taken 1/3 and plugged it in for x, and if it didn't make both of these sides equal to each other, then I knew that there's only one answer choice left. Another way is for us to find the point of intersection. So you can hit second and the trace button where it says calc, and it gives you this menu. Go down to number 5 for the intersection, and then you just hit enter for first curve, enter for the second one, hit enter, and it tells you right here that the x number is 0.2. Well, 0.2, you could type it in your calculator and figure out what that fraction would be, but 0.2 as a fraction is 1/5. So different ways for you to solve this problem, working it out step by step. You could take these answer choices, plug them in for x, and then have the calculator do the work and tell you if these two sides are equal to each other. Or you can graph the two lines, these two equations, and see where they cross, and that x number is your answer. Question number 11 on the 2016 Algebra 1 STAAR test says that a linear function f of x equals x is graphed on a coordinate plane. The graph of a new line is formed by changing the slope of the original line to 2/3 and the y-intercept to 4. Which statement about the relationship between the two graphs is true? So the best way to attack this problem would be to graph both of them in the calculator and compare them. So we know that the first line is f of x equals x. So that's the same thing as y equals x. So that's what I'm going to put in y1. The second one is that the slope is changed to 2/3. So in y2, I'm going to put 2/3 x because the slope of the first one is just 1. So I'm changing it to 2/3 like the problem says. And the y-intercept is 4. That means I'm going to add 4 to 2/3 x. Once I have these two equations, I can go to y equals in my calculator, and I can type them in there. So the first one's going to be y equals x, and the second one will be y equals 2/3 x plus 4. I'll hit graph so I can take a look and see what they look like. So there's the first line going through the origin. Second line, y-intercepts at 4, and this one's a little bit less steep. I guess the line's more flatter, so it's steeper than the original line. So let's look at our answer choices and see which one it might be. The graph of the new line is steeper. Well, we already determined that the graph of the new line is less steep, it's more flat. So answer choice A is definitely incorrect. The graph of the new line is less steep, that's true, than the graph of the original line, and the y-intercept has been translated up. That's exactly what happened. We had this line moved up, so we went from here up to here, and then we made it more flat or less steep. So we would have answer choice B would be correct. Let's just go through the other two to see why they're wrong. The graph of the new line is steeper. We've already established that that's not true because the new graph is more flat. And then D, the graph of the new line is less steep, which is true than the graph of the original line, and the y-intercept has been translated down. Well, the y-intercept went up. We went from here up to here for the y-intercept. This is the original, that's the new one, so we went up. We didn't go down, so it couldn't be answer choice D. Question number 12 on the 2016 Algebra 1 STAAR test. Table shows some ordered pairs that belong to the quadratic function h. What is the range of h? So we could see that here the numbers start high for y. Right, first of all, range deals with the y values. So we're looking for the y values. We see that it starts pretty high, and then it comes down. This is the lowest point because that's the smallest number, and then it starts going back up. So if we were to sketch this graph out, negative 441 might be way up here, and then negative 217, 0, 1, 2, negative 7, 3, negative 8, 4, negative 7, 6, 1. So you can see that the graph's going to kind of come this way and then go back up. All right. So this would be the lowest point of our graph at negative 8, where the vertex is. All of our y values are negative 8 or bigger. So it would be y is greater than or equal to negative 8. We're not going to find any number smaller than negative 8 in the y values. Another way we could have done this is taken this table, put it in stat edit. So stat number 1 for edit. Type in all these points that are up here. So we got negative 4, negative 2, 0, what else? 2, 3, 4, 6. Go over to the y side and type in those values. We got 41, 17, 1, negative 7, negative 8, negative 7, and 1. Go back to stat. We want to go over to calc by pushing to the right. Number 5 for quadratic regression. Hit enter a couple times, and they give us an equation of that graph. So let's take that equation. We have 1x squared minus 6x plus 1. Now I'm going to go to my graph and put this in y1 so I can look and see what the graph would look like. It's going to look basically like the one that I sketched out for you. So y equals, let's clear both of these from the last problem. We got 1x squared minus 6x plus 1. So 1x squared minus 6x plus 1. I'm going to hit graph so I can see what it looks like. And here it comes down. And here's the lowest point of our graph. All right, let's just zoom in. Here's the lowest part of our graph, which is at negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see that negative 8 is the lowest y value of the graph. So all of our y values, or all of our range is going to be negative 8 or bigger, greater than negative 8. So again, when we would write out the range, it would be y is greater than or equal to negative 8, which on the answer choices is going to be letter H. It's not all real numbers, because all real numbers would include numbers that are smaller than negative 8. It's not all real numbers greater than or equal to -7, because then we're not including -8. We're leaving out all the numbers that are between -7 and -8. And it's not all the numbers greater than or equal to 0, because then we're forgetting about the negative numbers from 0 to -8. Question number 13 on the 2016 Algebra 1 STAAR test. Sports magazine prints 12 issues a year, and a technology magazine prints 10. Total number of pages in all the issues of the sports magazine for a year is 32 more than all the issues of the technology magazine. Each issue of the sports magazine has 18 fewer pages than each issue of the technology magazine. Which system of equations can be used to find S, the sports magazine pages, and T, the number of pages in the technology? So, they tell us the total number of They don't tell us the total number of pages for the whole year, but they do tell us that there's 12 magazines. So the sports magazine is 12 times per year, and the technology magazine is 10 times per year. All right. So when you have 12 sports magazines, plus the 32 extra pages that it talks about in the problem, because there's 32 more pages in the sports magazines than the technology one, that equals the 10 issues of the technology magazine. So that's one equation. And then for each issue, the sports magazine has 18 fewer pages. So we would take the sports magazine would be equal to the technology magazine minus 18. We'd have to subtract 18 from the technology one to get the sports one. And then all the sports magazines together plus 32 gives us the how many we have for the technology magazine. Question number 14. What is the y-intercept of the line graphed on the grid? So just looking at the line and seeing where it crosses, I would say that that is about 5.5. It's in between 5 and 6. Now we can't be 100% sure just by looking at the graph. So another way we can do it, since they give us 2 points, we can plug those into stat edit in our calculator, and then we can do a linear regression and see exactly what the B number would be, the y-intercept. So let's go to stat edit. I'm going to type in my two x values, which is -2 and +6. So -2, enter, +6, enter. Then we're going to type in our two y values, 7 and 1. Go over to the y side, 7, enter, 1, enter. I'm going to go back to stat. I want to go to calc. Number 4, enter, 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 enter. And we see that our slope is -0.75, or -3/4. That's how it's going down from one point to the next, going down 3/4. And our y-intercept, or our B number, is 5.5, which is exactly what it looked like on the graph, and that's what we said. So that's what we would bubble in into our answer sheet. Not only bubbling in, writing 5.5, but bubbling in the plus, bubble, and then the 5, and then the decimal, and then another 5 to make sure we get that answer correct.